Hometown Murder Tour is a true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only, assuming you find us entertaining.
That being said, stories of violence, sexual assault, and other criminal acts will be discussed, using adult language. Consider this your warning.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Finally.
It's
about freaking time.
I know. I've missed you.
I miss you too. It's been too long.
It has been too long. Stupid lives. Adulting.
Right?
Am I right?
Oh my god. All right. So
hey, everyone.
This is Hometown Murder Tour.
And I'm Sarah.
I'm Amy.
And we're finally back recording.
Hopefully with much better equipment.
Yeah, hopefully this is going to sound better.
We're hoping it's going to sound a lot better. If you have stuck with us through the first two episodes, through what we had, hopefully this is like now you're like in it.
Somewhere better.
To win it. Yeah.
So, glad to be back.
Yes.
We are jumping in with something that relatively recent.
Yes.
2017. So, if you're sort of new to the area, you've probably heard this one, maybe. It is the Highland Springs murder-suicide.
Yes. July 30th, 2017 is kind of when this murder happened.
So coming up on 2 years.
Yep.
Wow. I feel like it was last summer.
Right?
Yep. But
Time
anyway,
flies.
we are parked here in a parking lot in front of Highland Springs. So Highland Springs Country Club is a gated community. Super fancy schmancy for those of you not familiar with it. It is on the, what direction are we? Southeast of Springfield proper.
Yes.
So just down the highway a little bit. It was created in 1989. So some of these original houses, I bet, are still rocking some mauve.
Oh yeah.
Some kitchen border.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but expensive kitchen border because these houses range anywhere from $500,000 to well over $1 million.
Yes.
It is on a, I think it's, well, I can tell you right here. It is on 600 acres of rolling wooded Ozarks land rich with limestone outcroppings. This is a John Q.H., that would be John Q. Hammond's development.
Springfield people, you know him.
You know who that, you know who we're
not
talking
going to
about.
explain.
No.
Nope.
If you guys don't know, look him up. You've probably, even if you've not been in a hotel in Springfield, you've seen his hotels. He does the same style with the atrium inner part of the main hotel. So, anyway, it's kind of boring. So, moving along.
That's not what this podcast is about.
No, it is not about architecture. But what it is about today is this country club. It has a golf course. I think it's PGA rated, maybe. I don't know anything about golf.
Nope.
Per se.
No idea.
But I know they have a big tournament here every July. Lots of people from all over come. It's a pretty big deal.
What you're hearing in the background is we are parked, it's Highway 60.
Yeah.
Which is basically the southern border of Springfield.
Yeah.
So we are parked. So if you hear that, that's what that noise is.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't be scared.
don't be scared. It's just traffic.
Giant
So
semis.
sorry, continue.
Anyway, so Highland Springs, it's a private. You have to, if you don't live there, you can also just be a member. So
Right.
that, I think there's memberships of different levels, but there's golf and tennis and pools and
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty fancy.
Clubhouse.
Like I said, we can't drive around.
no, we can't even go to the actual house this happened at because it's gated and
Yeah.
I think we probably look suspicious.
I mean, we're looking a little sketchy right now, as it is, just
like
parked outside of this welcome center.
Keep looking around to make sure like no one's watching us, but
Yeah.
so far so good. Okay, so that's about Highland Springs. You know, envision big ass houses,
gated community,
gated
golf course,
fancy,
Yep.
not where you would think a murder suicide would take place.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
let's get to
Let's
the
get
murder
into
suicide. So this case involves Tiffany Fleming. She's 27, was 27. She was shot and killed by Robert O'Block, who was 66. We like to try, like the last episode, we like to try to read the obituary from the victim. Unfortunately, there was not a whole lot out there about Tiffany Fleming.
No, I think it was just kept super private.
Yes, there were some like the funeral homes in Rogersville, which is where she was from. She graduated from Rogersville High School. I think it said in 2007 or 2009. I can't remember. But there wasn't a whole lot out there. But there were some comments on some of the funeral home websites for
Well
the
wishes,
service,
you know.
well wishes,
Rest in
shock,
peace.
that kind of thing. But we do want to say, like, we would read that if we had it.
Yes.
We just don't. So
Kind of honor her passing a little bit.
yeah, it's really sad. So here, so Tiffany Fleming, 27 years old, was shot and killed by Robert O'Block, who was 66.
Gross.
Yeah, and I don't like. Let's just get that out while we're talking about it. So there may be some people out there who disagree,
Of course.
and like because yes, at the end of the day, they were two consenting adults, right?
Correct.
She was 27-year-old woman.
Right.
in a relationship
But
with a
mind
man.
you, they've been together 3 or 4 years. So
Right.
she could have been
So
as
she was like
young
24,
as 23.
23.
23,
Yeah.
24.
Yeah, so like I don't like I'm just it's gross and it's a
Kinda
gross
grosses me out a
vibe
little
and it's not okay. I'm
And
gonna just say it.
maybe, maybe if we didn't know the details of this case and who he was, which we'll
That's
get
true.
into,
We will
maybe
get into
we
that.
wouldn't be so bad.
I mean, I still get a vibe.
I know.
Anytime
Oh.
there's like a 20, 60,
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Moving along.
so Highland Springs neighborhood, gated community, we already talked about that. Here's how it begins. So the incident begins with a 28-year-old woman named Billy Cummings. She's a friend of Tiffany Fleming's. So Tiffany Fleming's, again, was shot. Her friend Billy, who was staying at the house for a couple days, she ends up running to a neighbor and she tells them to call 911. It's about 11 p.m. at night. And she basically says, like, my friend is being held hostage. Like, you need to call 911. So the neighbor calls and reports a male holding a female hostage. Billy claims that she was in the home when she heard 3 gunshots go off. She apparently did not feel comfortable, like, running out of the front door because it says she escaped out of a bathroom window onto a roof and then had to climb down and ran away, and that's how she got to the neighbor's house to tell him to call 911. While she was climbing off the roof, she heard a 4th gunshot. So when she gets to the neighbor, that's when she's like, hey, there's like this situation, you need to call 911, shots are being fired.
Right.
So the police show up.
Because originally they thought it was a hostage situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what she said. It says that was the original call, that the neighbor's like, hey, there's this girl's being held, guns are being fired or whatever. So the police show up. It says they were able to look into the house and they saw a body, which gave them reason to then barge in, right? I don't know which one. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to know which one of them was there. But once they saw the one body, then they forced entry into the home, and somewhere else in the house located the second body. There were multiple guns found around the bodies when they went in. So apparently the bodies they were like not in the same room.
Right.
So wherever Tiffany was shot and killed, then he
Went somewhere else
and killed himself. The friend that escaped, she had reported that Fleming and O'Block had been arguing and screaming at each other throughout the evening. She said that their relationship was, quote, hostile and abusive in the past. And so that was just kind of a little bit of background, which we'll get into more of that. They were able to then get a warrant and really search the home within hours. Here's what they found. Some of what they found. 5 guns, 1 revolver with 4 spent casings. So it's clear that the 4 gunshots,
right.
the revolver is what was used. They had swabs of suspected blood, a game camera that was installed on the side of the house.
Okay. Seems weird.
I know, right? In a gated community.
I just realized what that meant.
What?
I'm a dum-dum. Game. I was thinking like gaming.
Oh, no.
No, like game, like
deer.
deer.
Right.
Got it.
Yep. Which even then...
Guys, I'm a total experienced hunter. Thank you very much.
Right. They had several pieces of electronic equipment, computers, iPhones. Something interesting that I would have been curious if they would have released it was there was a Echo Bee thermostat which used Amazon Alexa, which we know can like, record shit, right? So who knows what's on there, right?
Oh, can we get that, please?
Somebody get
Someone in the know. Hack into that.
Hack into that and send it to us. Various projectiles, I'm sure bullets, right? Lots of police memorabilia. They ended up doing an auction, I guess, later, and there was just like a shitload of tactical equipment and holsters and guns.
Like, here's a list, I think. Nope, just kidding.
Just a ton of stuff like that. They just said, like, even the lady who ran the auction was like, there was so much tactical stuff in here. I've never done this before. I'm used to furniture and like normal
so they had to
estate
call in
stuff.
someone else, right?
Yeah, it was like an estate sale, and she didn't even know how to handle it. So just like a lot of SWAT, tactical police kind of shit.
Which kind of goes into his mentality, which we're going to talk about.
We're going to get there. Investigators said they believe phone calls, text conversations, documents, and computer equipments will provide evidence of the relationship and some explanation. But I wasn't able to find a whole lot after the fact. It was just like, well, hopefully this will explain things. But as far as articles go, it's kind of done when it's done, right? There wasn't a whole lot in there. They, of course, did toxicology reports, but again, no release on that.
Yeah.
So that's basically the incident. So the police were called, the friend escaped, said, my friend is being held hostage. I heard 4 gunshots. By the time they get there, they find one body, then find the other body. It is done. So, a little bit of background about Robert O'Block and Tiffany Fleming.
Right. So, unfortunately, there's not a lot about Tiffany. I always like to focus more on... I call the victim here. He's not a victim.
No. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
We're going to go ahead and put that out there.
Piece of shit.
Yeah. So, they'd been dating for 3 or 4 years. Fleming lived with him, but her official address was actually in Rogersville, which is a little town around Springfield. So, he was, quote unquote, an employee of his. In Facebook messages sent to a friend in February, Fleming said she worked for CNTA, calling it the best job I've ever had. And
CNTA is the Center for National Threat Assessment. That's a company. We'll talk about that.
That's a whole nother trip on across town.
Right.
Best job ever. She described her job as involving data entry and said she went on a trip for Homeland Security. So, he was the executive director of the CNTA. Oh, excuse me. The executive director, J.J. Goulburn?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Too many U's in there.
Right.
Said, it's difficult for us to characterize her employment. She was his girlfriend. She had preferential status. Let's just leave it at that. So what it sounds like is she didn't really work there.
Right. She was getting paid.
Yeah.
To like be an employee, but didn't really like data entry. She didn't really do. Yeah. And there's another case when we get into him. Like there is another case of that. Like apparently he has a habit of like
his girlfriends. He's just bringing in.
Right. Or he meets them through the company, and then
correct.
Yeah.
So the sheriff. Oh, backing up. Sorry. Goulburn. That is spelled Goulbourne. By the way, before I go any further, so I was looking through researching and so forth, and saw a picture of O'Block, Goulburn.
Yes.
And in the middle of that picture, I'm not going to name his name, but I know a guy that worked with him.
Really?
Yes. He's actually an ex-husband of a friend of mine.
Shit.
I know. So many questions.
So many questions.
No, but I had no one
Like,
to really ask.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Not asking my friend, because...
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah. She's
Okay.
remarried. It's fine. Anywho. So he said some of Fleming's family members had previously been employed by CNTA, but declined to detail when that was. He otherwise declined to talk about Fleming.
So it sounds just like they're kind of weird. Like, he's like, because he already said, like, let's just leave it at that. We're not talking about it. Like,
right.
It just seems weird when he was questioned about her. Right. Like, his reaction. I don't know.
But from other stuff I've read, and we'll talk about the work environment and everything, this Goulburn, he is very tight-lipped about everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was loyal to some extent, but I think, I don't know, the wool was over his eyes,
right,
too,
something.
or what. Anyway. So, Greene County Sheriff said deputies had been to O'Block's home several times in 2014 for a domestic disturbance, but this was a different girlfriend.
Oh.
So, which kind of is weird, because if we're looking at Tiffany and him being together 3 or 4 years,
right.
And this happened in 2017,
and then in 2014 there were already domestic. So he like
with someone else,
right?
So he's
with a different girlfriend, getting domestic disturbance calls, and then like seems like he immediately
either
ends
has
that relationship,
or they're doubled up.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So again, piece of shit.
Yep.
Other calls to the residence included alarm calls and violations of judicial blah 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 judicial orders of protection. So that sounds like restraining orders.
Right. So there's been some calls to that residence prior to this.
Right. Josh Roberts, an attorney who defended O'Block and his companies, said after his death he was shocked but not surprised. The man had a temper and he exhibited it. This is a quote from Josh Roberts. I saw it, and so the fact he would do something like that is not terribly shocking. The fact that he did it is shocking, however. That does not make any sense.
Right? Well, it's like one of those things, like, I mean, the fact that he would probably shoot and kill somebody, I mean, yeah, I could see that.
Right.
I just never thought he'd actually follow through with it, I guess. I don't know. Either
so
way, like,
basically
okay.
said, yeah, he did it.
Right?
No questions.
Of course he did. Right.
So
yeah, his company, which we are going to, again, we keep saying, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to go through a whole thing about his companies because this is like a big old interesting story. Yeah. But there was kind of some weird stuff about how his company responded after the incident. So again, the name of his company is the Center for National Threat Assessment, otherwise known as CNTA. And so after this happened, 3 days later, again, Goulburn, who was the executive director, was quoted in the news leader going out of his way saying it's business as usual. We are going to continue to provide service to our products to our more than 70,000 active members. Mm-hmm. And they need their credentials. Without us, they're null and void. We are in it to win it. We deserve to, our members deserve to have, us behind them. At the time of the incident, they had 12 employees. A few years before, O'Block was quoted as saying they had up to 35 or 40. Yeah. So 12 people are working there. And then Goulburn had some comments about O'Block after his death. So they interview Goulburn, who's the executive director of this company, and they're just kind of asking him some questions. When asked if O'Block seemed normal in the weeks before his death, here's how he responded. So I just want you to, he says, define normal. We're not normal. We're not normal. And gestures to a colleague. He was the same Robert O'Block that I knew. That's his. So when asked, so listen, your boss who murdered someone and then shot himself, did you notice anything beforehand? Did he seem normal? And his reaction was what do you mean by normal? Who's normal? I'm not normal.
Yeah.
Are you normal? What? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He says he's human. Okay. We all have our vices. We have skeletons in our closets. He was a friend at times.
Right.
I miss him.
At times.
Right. We all have skeletons in our closets.
Yeah, so I don't know about this
Goulburn with too many
JJ. I'm
U's.
just going to say JJ because I cannot say Goulburn.
Goulburn. Within a week, the company suspends their operations. So, like, immediately after, they're like, we are in it. Our members deserve our support. Business as usual. 1 week later, the company company suspends operation. The website's no longer active. The building is closed. No one's answering the phone. And they even posted a sign for an attorney, like, on the company door.
Yeah.
Just like, peace out. They did have a message on some of the subsidiary companies, which there's a shitload of those. We'll talk about that. That just said, due to the untimely passing of CEO and founder Dr. Robert O'Block, all operations of ACFEI are suspended until further notice. And then after that, no comments.
Yeah.
JJ quit responding to requests, anything like that. So within a week, everything is just like completely shut down. Weird connection. And I don't know if this has anything to do, it has to have something to do with something. 2 days after the murder. So it happened on July 30th. On August 1st, Springfield police took a report of a commercial burglary at the CNTA building. It said the burglary took place sometime after 5:30 p.m. on July 31st. So the incident was at 11 p.m. the day before. So I don't know. I just found that to be super weird. So Robert O'Block shoots and kills Tiffany Fleming. Yeah. And then within like 12, 13 hours, whatever, like the next day, there's like a robbery at his company. Like,
well, here's where, so I have friends that live in Highland Springs.
Yes.
And
I've been waiting for this. You told me you had some stuff.
Well, it's not that great, but it's an interesting just little morsel. Complete rumor, mind you. There's nothing
allegedly
substantiated whatsoever. But the rumor behind those gates that we're looking at right now with the residents was that both Fleming and Cummings were pregnant by O'Block.
Oh,
and that
shit.
I don't know when she told me if she meant Tiffany or Billy Cummings went there with the intent to shoot O'Block. And then I don't know if something went haywire.
What?
So it would be interesting, like maybe Tiffany broke into CNTA. Maybe there was guns there.
Right.
Then came back over here. I don't know.
So that's it's just like more twists.
Right. Like the whole fact, I would love to talk to Billy Cummings and see what's up with that.
What was going on with the house? Because she was like living there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So just like what's going on?
Yeah.
What was going on in there?
Surely got some stories.
Mm-hmm.
So also, my friend texted me the other day and she's like, looks like, this is her quote unquote text, looks like Murder House in Highland just sold. So it's been for sale. Okay. Just sold. Real estate sign is gone. Bunch of cars there today. And I'm like, I wonder who would buy this house. They have to disclose that shit.
Have wait.
Yep. Let me finish
my Yep. All right.
text. And then she goes on, did you hear about the first open house? I'm like, no. And she's like, yeah, the real estate agent didn't know about the sex room and was taking the first person through and got a surprise. Apparently, she immediately closed the open house and they had a contractor come in and dismantle the wall and chains and cuffs. Just a little wall repair and fresh paint.
So a sex room, like there were chains and cuffs built into the walls.
50 Shades of Grey.
Red room. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it said, she was like, the whole neighborhood was lined up for the next open house.
Oh, can you imagine? Well, I know someone who, when I was talking about we were going to do this case and like printing stuff off, they have an idea. They're pretty sure that someone they work with purchased the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we'll talk about it later outside of the thing. But they were like, I think that's what they were talking about.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll
discuss like
that.
There needs to be a psychological
recording.
Test. Who would buy a murder house?
Right.
not me.
Mm-mm.
Although,
I mean, maybe want to
really
sell it.
good deal.
I mean, maybe you'd want to
Really
sell it.
good deal.
I was gonna say maybe it's cheap. Maybe they're not
No,
planning
it was
on living
estimated
there.
at like the land and the house was on, I think, like $800,000.
Yeah,
So not a dump.
not a dump.
Although I'm still
sure.
picturing, you know, wallpaper border and mauve
Where,
flowers.
where the chains are screwed into the wall.
Yes,
for
it's
your
the
sex
mauve room.
It's the mauve room,
Not the red
not
room.
the red room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we need to move on to actually talking about the businesses.
I think so. So yeah, I think this would be a good time for a break.
Yes.
And then we're gonna travel a little bit and actually head
To the business.
the business, which is
location.
still there, and we'll
It's
talk
still
about
there.
that.
Okay. We'll be back.
All right, before we head out of here, though,
Let's get a
which
pic.
hey, we did not get busted. Just
Nope.
sitting here being
Yeah.
creepers. We're gonna take a picture of the Highland Springs sign so we can tweet that.
I'm gonna park.
She's gonna park.
I'm gonna get out.
Okay.
Let's take a picture.
Okay. Real quick.
Real quick.
And she's taking the picture.
And done. Okay, got it.
Woohoo! All right, let's do this. On to
The next stop.
CNTA.
Hometown Murder Tour is brought to you by Serendipity Designs, offering handmade leather jewelry that is simply to die for.
Go to serendipitydesigns.com and enter the promo code MurderTour, all one word, for an additional 10% off your order. That's SARAHNDIPITY designs.com. Don't miss out on this killer deal.
Okay.
So we are here at the CNTA Association headquarters
Located.
on 2750 East Sunshine. It is for sale. There's a giant for sale sign right here. We are parked in front of it. They do have security cameras, and we're nervous AF.
I mean, a little bit. No, here's the deal. This the building is still here.
Yep.
It's almost 2
2
years
years.
after the CEO murdered someone and then killed himself, and the building's still here. The sign is still here. Feel free to drive by East Sunshine. It's actually right next door to the lovely Roy Blunt, Republican U.S. Senator. I say lovely, meaning not lovely.
Constituent Services Office, that's what it says.
Yes. So if you know where Roy Blunt's Missouri or Springfield office is,
It's right next door.
to it.
Yeah.
So we're in the parking lot.
I mean, we don't want to make any associations, but I mean
I'm
two dicks in a row.
two dicks in a row.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out on the sign it says CNTA Association headquarters, and then I feel like they're just made up letters.
Oh yeah, there's a shitload of acronyms
Like
underneath the sign.
ACFEI, ABC, not kidding you, ABCHS, APA, AAIM,
A B C D E F G.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's,
XYZ.
Yeah.
So those are his.
Which we'll get into that. The little sub companies, subsidiaries.
Easy
Yep.
for you to say.
Yep.
Okay, so we talked about how JJ, the executive director, said business as usual, blah blah blah. Let's get into. Oh, I'm on the wrong page.
Yep.
Yep. I'm just summarizing for you guys. All right.
So we're gonna go back and we're gonna repeat everything we just said, just to make sure you really understand what.
I mean, we drove
happened.
across town, so I forgot.
Right.
So pretend I didn't say that. Okay, here we go. So the Center for National Threat Assessment started in the early 1990s. O'Block was teaching criminal justice at the Appalachian State University, but was fired in 91 because he falsely claimed co-authorship of several academic articles. So he's off to a really good start.
Yep. So fired from his.
Yeah, for lying.
Yeah.
Okay. He was then hired to teach criminal justice at the College of the Ozarks in southern Missouri. Those of you that are locals know where that is.
It's known as the C of O,
C of O,
if you will.
If you will, yes. It is is it still free?
I think, yeah, it's set up to where if you work
on campus.
you get your tuition
For free.
and it is
But they have
religious,
a shit,
correct?
Yes, shit ton of rules like
Yes.
curfews and no drinking and no dating and blah blah blah. So my mom really wanted me to go there.
My husband did go there and was kicked out.
Oh,
because he's
Probably
a normal fucking person.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Who did normal things that you do in college. Anyway,
Exactly.
this podcast is not about C of O.
No, it's not. So, he was hired to teach criminal justice at C of O, applied for membership to a forensic handwriting analysis organization, but was rejected. And side note, I feel like that's one of those sciences that's been debunked anyway.
Yes, it has.
Along with blood splatter.
Yep.
And even bite marks.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I know. I think that's the newest one. Don't quote me on that. In 92, he founded the Board of Forensic Handwriting Analysis and put himself in charge, as one does. And then, of course, began soliciting membership and certification fees.
So he applied to join a forensic handwriting analysis organization and was not accepted. So his response to that was, I'll just make my own.
Make my own, bitches.
Yep.
And he did. He must be one of these people, like, I'm picturing a true sociopath, but has that charisma where people will believe anything he says.
Have to.
I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of people like that.
No,
in our society.
I've never heard of anyone like that.
Okay. His company began to grow. So Supreme Court case around that time that basically opened it up for judges to be the quote-unquote gatekeepers of expert testimony, meaning they decide which experts can be put on stand. So I think that was kind of his opening.
Yeah, so right about the same time he formed this company, basically in the court system, it was up to judges to decide who was considered experts or not.
Right.
Which then basically opened like the floodgates for companies like this.
Exactly.
To just
and he's no dummy. I mean, we can't say that about him. O'Block is smart. So judges looked for shortcuts, as you said, and so it really made for questionable convictions.
Yep.
And did you already say he added other fields of forensics to his company?
No.
So within a few years, he was adding other fields other than just handwriting analysis.
Yes.
So
just like making shit up.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, look at me, I'm the president of Constantinople.
Also bite mark analysis.
Yeah. And also
Institute.
Blinking analysis.
Also. Yep.
So he was fired from C of O because he was using his students to collect fees, stuff envelopes, and send promotional materials for his company.
So this is now so this guy fired from one teaching position.
In 91.
Yep.
And then fired in 92, is that right? Yep.
Did not get accepted to an organization he tried to join, made up his own, and then was just like, let's do this.
Yep.
Let's go full in.
So then he renamed his company American College of Forensic Examiners. Again, I'm the president of the world.
Yes.
I'm just going to name myself that.
Yep.
And that was in 95. In 95, later adding the word institute as one does.
Making it more official.
Way more official.
So that is where the ACFEI comes from, which is like...
And by 2000, he offered 11 specialities, claiming up to 17,000 members. I feel kind of sad for those people that joined. Like, do they feel totally duped?
I mean, all of those companies are done now. So all of that money, which we'll talk about the money that goes into this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done. Like, basically, you pay to get certification in these different fields. And from what I was reading a little bit about the companies, you have to take an exam, which, did you read anything about the exams? They were super bullshit.
Yeah.
Pretty much open note exams. You could use the exam and you could retake it multiple times.
And again, these are things people are getting certified in that are putting people in prison for life.
Right. Yeah. And they said some of the questions were super leading. Like, you should probably not, throw away like the gun from the scene of the crime, right? Yes or no?
Yes, but don't answer no.
So super leading questions, fill in the blank from the open notes. So basically anybody could pass these. Essentially, if you had enough money to go through the program and pay for your certification, you would get it.
Yep.
And there was some investigation into these companies where people tried, like, reporters did this, and they're like, I didn't even actually take the test, and I just got in anyway. Yeah. I paid the money. One other reporter said something about how they were supposed to, according to the organization, list a reference, and they didn't. And they were like, meh, it's fine.
Yeah,
like, here,
totally
as
fine.
long as you have the money.
Yeah. So, as of 2017, this is after the murder, the ACFEI claimed to be the largest forensic certification organization in the country, boasting celebrity members. Now, those of you that like true crime, you will recognize these names.
Yep.
Henry Lee, who worked on O.J. Simpson, and the John Benet Ramsey, and the Lacey Peterson cases. So, this guy is quote-unquote certified by O-Block.
Yeah.
And his
who knows,
fake companies.
And that's the thing, is they had these tens of thousands of people with certifications who are using them to
convict people. Or get people
to sit
free.
on the stand and give their expert testimony. And some of them may be trained in other areas and have this certification, but who knows? Like, who the
we
fuck
don't
knows?
know. It's just so broad.
And
where
that's what
this
he's
could have
known as. Like, what was his name? Like the Emperor.
Emperor of Junk Science.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they called it Junk Science, did they?
I can't remember.
Well, that's what they called it after the fact, when they
fact.
found all of this shit out.
Like when they realized it was bullshit, they called it junk science forensics, and he's like the emperor of. He kind of...
Yeah. So, a little bit about... I mean, that's kind of the beginnings of his companies. But let's talk a little bit about what an asshole he is.
Yeah.
So, his work environment was Toxic City. I found this one, you know, you can go on and review employers or whatever. So this one cracked me up. Got 1 star. I don't even know how. I guess you have to put at least 1 star. Recommendation rate, no. Every employee at this company will throw any person under the bus if it means they please the CEO, which is our friend Block. Mm-hmm. The CEO is verbally and psychologically abusive. His executive director will stray from the truth in order to get what he wants. They have fabricated information sent to the United States military.
Yeah, and at some point, the Department of Homeland Security and the Navy were, like, getting people certified through his organization.
Yeah.
Like,
teamwork. The management pits all employees against each other to ensure the employees remain loyal only to the CEO and executive director. This executive director, remember, is JJ.
Mm-hmm.
What's his
whatever.
Born.
And so this is, you're reading it off of a review? Okay.
Yeah, this is a review.
You found online? Okay.
Yeah. Cameras are pointed directly at each individual, not to ensure work is done correctly, but so the CEO can watch the female employees.
Gross. Also, I mean, think about it. We know of already 2 prior employees that were he dated.
Communication is often lost in translation. The employees will often not tell management crucial information, and the CEO and executive director conspire against employees.
Wow.
Women are seen as inferior. Obviously, just objects. Older colleagues are intentionally given tasks that are past their capabilities. I don't know what that means. Like, move a 2-ton truck. I don't know.
Your 90-year-old colleague.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Advancement is not possible at this company. Titles are thrown around but mean nothing to the CEO. Educated people are paid less than the uneducated. Assistants are paid more than their managers. The CEO intentionally causes rifts between employees using pay to separate them. Totalitarian environment. Every employee is expected to fill the personal needs of the CEO first and the company's needs second.
Personal needs.
He's a sociopath.
Yeah.
An employee answering to the CEO is part of their 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's never about the company either. It's always to spy on someone else or do his personal bidding. The company uses a facade of professionalism, but most people who have worked with the CEO know he is anything but professional. There's no stability in the company. Disabled people are forced to climb stairs and stay in unfit working conditions. Multiple people have gotten injured and told not to go to the emergency room. The CEO prefers to hire uneducated people, specifically women. Educated people who are hired do not last long because they are forced out.
Wow.
Horrible place to work. Stay as far away as possible. So anyway, I just found that kind of entertaining.
So,
and this was before the murder. This was January 2017.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is while we're on the subject of him, he wrote a book. And I say wrote because in one of these notes I took, one of the former employees said he made employees just like update his book and rewrite and add a bunch of stuff. But he wrote a book / autobiography on the history of his company. It's called United for Truth. It's on Amazon. There's no ratings. It's 300 pages long. In this book, he compares himself to other visionaries like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and Alexander Graham Bell. So here's a quote.
Delusions of grandeur for sure.
Yeah, so here's a quote from his book. It says, America was built on dreams, ideas, and innovations by visionaries like Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, Henry Ford, who developed the Model T, and Alexander Graham Bell, the telephone. What once began as an idea in one man's mind revolutionized the world in which we live today. Another visionary, Dr. Robert O. Bloch, has come to epitomize the classic American success story.
Puke.
Right.
That's all we need to say about that.
Yep.
I mean, your guys are getting the picture of what kind of guy this was, right?
Yes.
So, as I'm digging around and trying to see, like, what's the company doing now? Like, you said it shut down, the week after, whatever. Well, the website is still out there, people. I don't know who runs it. It's been updated in 2019.
Really?
Like, down at the bottom where it says the date. So, it's been updated. But, so I kind of was looking around. It looks very legit. As you're looking through it, it has seemingly legit information. Although, once I started kind of reading, like, I went to the About page and read it. And I can't pinpoint it, but the way that it's written seems very amateur.
Okay.
Not that the grammar's bad, but it's just not what you normally, like,
right.
When you go to a company's website, it's not written in that tone, maybe, is what I'm looking for. So, anyway, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So, the deeper I looked, the more I looked. And so, basically, it's just a web page. I would equate it to, let's say, an upper level, maybe even high school web design project. Like, here's a company, build a website for it. Like, I feel like a high schooler did it. Okay. Not that it's bad, it's just that all it is basically links to legitimate things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, there's a little box you can put in, like, are you interested in forensic science? Put in your zip code and see the school closest to you. So it's just sending you out to other places that are legit. But then I was cracking up. So I'm, trying to really get a feel for who's making this website. You go down to the bottom, right, where it has the About link. And at the bottom, it says Learn More.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the names, and it's at first not dawning on me. Okay. There's 5 people listed.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at it, and the first one says Alex Cross, forensic psychologist. Oh, okay. That kind of sounds familiar. Dr. Cal Lightman. Okay. Ducky Mallard.
Okay.
George Huang. Samantha Waters. These are all TV or movie characters or book characters that are like...
What?
Yep. Yeah. And so you click on the link and it takes to a page and says, like, Alex Cross is a character by James Patterson, who is a forensic psychologist. And then it has a whole page about the character and, like, the job they do.
What? So at the bottom of this website, it has Learn More.
Yeah.
About these fictional characters?
No, it has, like, down the bottom, it says, like, about, or let's see, all the headings. It says site information, and then under it has About Us, blog, privacy policy. Then it has organizations, APA, CPA, APA, blah, blah, and then Learn More. And it has people listed, like, if you just glanced at it.
These are legit names.
Yeah, right. You looked at it, you're like, oh, those are, like, people that work for this organization or whatever it is. No, they're fictional fucking characters.
Who have some kind of fictional connection to forensics.
Forensic psychologist.
What the hell?
This one's from the movie Lie to Me.
Oh my God.
Ducky Mallard's from NCIS.
Oh my
He's
God.
the coroner or the autopsy guy. Dr. George Huang is Law & Order SUV.
What?
Yep. And then the show Profiler, Samantha Waters.
So, is there anything on the website that takes you to a place to actually get certified still? Like,
it takes you to like legitimate colleges. Like when I put in my zip code, it sent me to MSU. And
so, as far as like the actual CNTA, they are not operational, but yet there's a website for them. Someone's running a website taking them to places that are operational.
And you guys can check it out. It's Forensic Psychology Online something. Maybe it's .com. I bet it's not .edu. I can tell you that for one thing. But just look up Forensic Psychology Online.
Wow.
Or look up American College of Forensic Examiners, because it is fascinating. And it literally, from the outside, if you're not digging deep, it just looks like a normal website. Yeah, it has all these information pages, and I was cracking up when I saw those names, because I literally
learn more.
Oh,
about
that name sounds familiar.
Characters.
It must be from the books I read.
Right.
Yeah, it is. Alex Cross.
That's hilarious.
James Patterson wrote him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was my favorite part.
I remembered this when it happened, and I knew it was kind of crazy. This murder suicide. It wasn't expected, and I just like the more you dig into it, though.
Yeah.
The deeper and shadier it gets.
Yeah. And then totally.
Yeah.
Just everyone's got skeletons, but this guy's got.
I mean, shit.
I don't know. A whole hidden city of dead bodies.
He has a YouTube channel, which is still active.
Oh yes, it's very active.
I mean, they're not actively posting things. It's just like you can still watch it. It's still there. Videos of himself. There's one of him receiving an award. There's one. The weird one though is you can watch. There's like a 2.5 minute video called Robert O'Block Tactical Training, which is weird, and it's just him in this big hangar with a bunch of people cheering him on while he's like swinging a nightclub, running around firing guns.
Cool.
He's just like into.
I think he just has like this like power complex.
Yes.
And the way that in his mind is to be associated with the military and law
police
enforcement
force.
And anyway.
And it's just at the end of the day, it's sad. Like a young woman was killed because she happened to be in a relationship with a piece of shit.
Yep. I'm sure he promised her all kinds of things.
I'm sure. So yeah.
So that's the murder-suicide of Tiffany Fleming and Robert O'Block.
So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
At Murder Tour. What is my problem?
What?
People, I'm going to get fired from my own podcast.
Right.
Because I can't say it.
At Murder Tour.
Yes.
Is on Twitter. We also are on Podbean, which is linked on our Twitter. You can find us or search Murder Tour podcast on Podbean. We have a Gmail.
Yes. 417hmt@gmail.com.
And
guys, we are on iTunes.
It's official.
We're legit. I mean, we're not really, but we're on iTunes.
So if you subscribe to, or if you have iTunes, subscribe, rate us,
review us. I mean,
hopefully positively, but whatever.
We
be
can't
honest.
tell you what to do.
Like, don't rate us on the first two
audio.
Hopefully
this one's better.
Hopefully this one's a lot better.
Okay. So